Honesty is a virtue, and I believe it to be true. For when we speak the truth each day, we build trust anew. It's not easy, that's for sure, to be completely honest and sincere. But when we hide the truth, we hide our intentions and create fear. So let us be truthful in our words and transparent in our deeds. For honesty is like a sword that cuts through lies. It may be painful at times, I know, to face the facts, but in the end, it helps us grow and build our character to the max. Welcome to Divided We Stand. I am Jimmy J, and that man over there can curve a wiffle ball just about 90 degrees. That's Joe Aguirre. I bring that up for a reason. Before we get into politics, Joe, right? Because there's a lot of that going around, and I need a tiny bit. I need like a 30-second break here, right? Spring training, dude. Underway, Yankees. Shortstop, man. It's a tough position to be filled right now, don't you think?
Well, listen, this Anthony Volpe kid's supposed to be a Derek Jeter-esque, and he just fantastic, putting up great numbers, and they're saying he's got a real presence about him for a young guy. So we'll see how it turns. It'd be really cool if they did it. Yankees certainly haven't really taken a chance at a young guy since 1996, Derek Jeter, and they went on to win the World Series that year.
We all know what happened there. I mean,
something to think about. I'm excited. By the way, the New York Mets, being the New York Mets already, their closer, Edwin Diaz, out for the year. Did you see this?
I did not.
Celebrating the win.
Celebrating a win, hurts himself, out for the year. What do you blow, an ACL?
Patella tendon, basically.
There you go.
But again, that is so Mets. Isn't that just so Mets?
Oh my God. Oh my God. Let's go Mets. Let's go Mets. Yeah, right? Oh my God. All right, man. That's enough of that. Let's get into this crap, dude. I could not. So you and I had a nice discussion. I'll call it a nice discussion about the Don't Say Gay bill and how that was total crap. And how Biden blew that up to be such a political thing. It wasn't, the bill never even said the word gay, right? And here we go again, right? Here we go again. Joe Biden calling the bill down in Florida. It wasn't even DeSantis's bill this time, right? Almost sinful, right? And he's just, and I have a real issue with this. I really, really do, okay? Because if you don't know what I'm saying, the bill down in that was proposed down in Florida will not allow transgender surgery to be performed on minors. Okay, and I don't see this as a problem. I honestly don't. Right, and I'm going to tell you why. And it's not because I'm, transphobic. Because Joe, you can attest up and down that I'm not.
You are definitely not. You're definitely a trans supporter.
I am. I'm a huge trans supporter, but I don't see a problem with this bill.
And Jim, you know what? Last week, doing the radio show, talking to Amy Borden, who we had on this program a couple weeks ago, we talked a little bit about transgenders. And thank you for setting me up with the interview with Amy. Christine Rebstock called in.
Yes.
And I spent 30 minutes because, and we should get her on this show too. I think she's a fascinating individual and has a lot to say in the matter. And my thing to both of those women was, I don't think there's anything wrong with having the conversation. In the case of Christine, to ask her what her experience was like. I know you know the story, and we'll get her on here to tell it herself, so I don't want to get too into it, but she was like 12 or 13 as a male and was like, yeah, something's wrong here, and didn't transition until 52 years old.
Yeah, I knew it was over 50.
And I mean, it's a horrible story, but she still believes, as a conservative Republican woman, that you should be 18 when you make that decision. I don't know if you saw the special Jon Stewart did with the Attorney General in Arkansas, where he basically explained, the ADA and the the other big medical organization. Can't think of it off the top of my head, but they've got guidelines in dealing with kids who are dealing with sexual dysmorphia, and it's charted medically. So again, this isn't, as Jon Stewart said, a 9-year-old going into a doctor's office and saying, "Give me testosterone." These kids are consulting with their parents and they're consulting with their doctors, and there's a program, so it is safe. Now, as far as, Jimmy, the argument I hear all the time, and I mean, I get it, and I can't say I don't agree with it a little bit, is that, these are irreversible operations. You
don't see 14-year-olds running around with skull tattoos and naked ladies and hearts that say mom on their chest for a reason.
You probably would if it was legal.
But it's not
right.
for a reason. Okay.
As silly as that point was, Jim, you're spot on. Again, there's a reason we
don't see 14-year-old girls with fake boobs walking around. You know what I'm saying? You don't see 12-year-olds in the military. You don't see toddlers walking around freaking smoking a pack of Pall Malls. I really just wanted to sneak Pall Malls into the conversation. I don't know.
This episode is brought to you by our friends at Pall Malls. Keep smoking.
But I'm saying, Joe, there's laws in place for a reason, to protect minors, to protect children. But certainly, now the president of the United States is going on TV saying, "No, it's okay to have irreversible cosmetic surgery." Which, by the way, now this is way down in my notes here, so I'm skipping a lot. So we're going to cut a lot of my time out. But you brought it up, so it's dangerous, Joe, because you know what? I've said it on this show. I've shown you the statistics. You can go look them up from yourself. It's from the NIH that transgender people have the higher suicidality rate amongst any group out there. Right. Now, what's even worse about it is, after transitioning, after having a life-altering, irreversible surgery, the suicidality rate among transgender are still the highest among any group in the freaking world. So that proves that transgender surgery isn't the answer, right? To bring down the suicidality rate. It may help in certain circumstances, but now you're not even giving somebody an option from childbirth that wasn't able to make their own friggin' mind up, because according to the NIH, right, I believe that's the other medical institution you were referring to, children don't have a fully developed brain until the age of 25. Now, we believe at 18, you're an adult, right? That's still 7 years shy of a fully developed brain.
And some people never develop.
What's that?
Some people's never develop.
I'm 45, man. My shit ain't developed. I'll tell you right now. I'm not even going to joke about it. But he did, Joe. The man said it was almost sinful, right? To say, hold on.
Do it now. Don't wait. Transgender kids is a really harder thing. What's going on in Florida is, as my mother would say, close to sinful. I mean, it's just terrible what they're doing. It's not like, a kid wakes up one morning and says, I decided I want to become a man, or I want to become a woman, or I want to change.
The man called it almost sinful. And yes, by the way, children do wake up every other day and say, yeah, I want to be this or I want to be that. I have a 9-year-old daughter right now who wants to be a dentist, a veterinarian, an astronaut, a singer, a ballet dancer, it changes every day, right? So yes, Joe, children do wake up and just say something like that every day, right? You and I talked about it, I believe, last week, and I don't even know how we got into the topic last week, but the issue of tomboys, right? We talked about tomboys. There are plenty of girls that I know, and I'm sure you know, that go through their adolescent years as a tomboy. I don't know how to describe tomboy except for tomboy. But then,
I mean, people know what that is.
Yeah, right? They know what a tomboy is, but now we're freaking gorgeous women. But imagine if
That's
we could.
Always fun to see too, isn't it?
You know what? I'm not going to lie to you. There was a girl that was a little bit tomboyish when we were, in high school, and I kind of brushed her off, 10 years later, holy crap, was she stunning. Like, wow. And she completely blew me off, and I was like, all right, I deserve that. There you go.
Listen, I'll tell you what, being a kid's tough. It's a tough thing to go through. You got to find yourself. You got to feel like, and like I said last week, to me, most kids are not comfortable in their own skin. Imagine if you're like, something ain't right in here. I think that's part. I've heard people suggest that that this is some sort of mental disorder, and I don't know that that's necessarily true, as much as I think you develop depression and other psychological problems as a result of, again, in talking to Christine and talking to other transgender people, this is something you realize early on in life as you're developing, like, there's something wrong with me. Right? Like, and Jim, you seem like an extremely overconfident person for some reason. And I've said this, I say this all the time.
You know I'm overconfident.
Oh, and so am I, for no reason. I'm not good at anything but like this. I'm not good at anything else. So for whatever reason, but I empathize with this idea that, my God, I've always been very comfortable in who I am sexually, mentally, physically. It's been a pretty easy ride for me. And so, I have a daughter who deals with depression and has ADHD. And so, I have an autistic daughter. I see the people have these serious struggles, and I have pretty much skated through life as a white heterosexual Christian. I hit all the check marks. It's been a great existence, but I've seen, I don't know if I think I've told you the story, Jim. I was in high school. I went to an all boys high school that I got kicked out of my freshman year.
Go figure.
Yeah. Gambling ring, if you will. But I remember they used to pick on this kid and I didn't even know what gay was I had no idea what it meant. And they kept calling this kid gay, and they kept calling him a fag. And he started crying, and I snapped and was like, the next person that says anything to this guy, like, I'm going to knock you out. And, everyone, we don't have a problem with you, kind of a thing. And I just, understanding and seeing people struggle, I empathize with that, because I feel like it's just kind of been easy for me. And so, again, my heart breaks thinking about what people go through. Now, again, as far as, and I understand the concern, and it comes mostly from a conservative viewpoint that kids should wait until they're 18. I get your concern on that. I think, much like with abortion, it's kind of none of your business. Ultimately, this idea that you're protecting children, again, I mentioned this statistic last week. Transgender people make up exactly 0.4% of the American population.
Okay. I'm going to stop.
That's a really small number.
Hold on. I'm going to stop you right there. Okay. Because I'm coming at it as how about I put it to you this way? The veterans on the street right now make up 0.0001% of the population, and we all concerned about 22 of them killing themselves every day. We're all concerned about that. We have hundreds and hundreds of organizations out there dedicating their time and to prevent this, right? But even the transgender community has a higher suicidality rate even after transitioning. But we don't care about that. We're going to be empathetic to their thoughts instead of them killing themselves. Does that make any sense to you now?
I'm gonna just fact check you, veteran. 6.4% of the American population is a veteran.
I said the homeless on the street veterans.
You're counting just homeless veterans. Well, listen, let me tell you something else. Because this is another one of these notions where it's like, we should be focused on helping the veterans and not worried about transgender rights.
I didn't say that. I never said that.
I'm not saying
that we are, right?
No. Listen, I'm totally not saying you. I'm saying people of your ilk have made that argument. And again, like I get your concerns. I get your viewpoint. I think, again, ultimately, you're talking about a medical decision that, I mean, again, if some 15-year-old kid is convinced he's a she and mom and dad are supportive and think that's a good idea, mind your business. Why do you care?
I just told you why. I just told you why I'm concerned. Because
I said,
and I'm also concerned about the suicidality rate amongst these people.
Hold on, pretend you're a liberal for a minute.
Because I believe that it truly is a mental condition. Now, it just doesn't.
I think the mental condition comes in dealing with it. I don't think it's a mental condition per se.
You're going to have to, I mean, for as long as there's been time up until about 1995, I believe, is when they switched the term. But
up until 1995, it wasn't socially acceptable. And
no, you're right. You know what? It was a mental condition up until that point, and they changed a term that just simply means. Now you can look it up. You got your phone. Dysphoria, right? Because now that's what it's called, right?
Right.
The definition of dysphoria is a strong disliking to. That's it. That's it. So I dislike my gender, so I get to change it. That's what it means now. Look it up, dysphoria. I'll wait. I promise you, I wouldn't have said it if I didn't look it up already. So I dislike it, so I get to change it.
It's a state of unease or generalized dissatisfaction with life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You dislike it.
If I felt like a woman inside, and Jim, here's the problem. You don't understand what that means. I don't understand what that means because we just know what the normal feeling is supposed to be. So again, I say, I think to make the assumption that a 13 or 15 or 17-year-old kid hasn't sought therapy and talked to doctors and been like, hey, this is not right. There's something wrong here. It's not like that decision is being made. And I think as long as your doctor gives you the okay on that, again, I just don't think it's.
What's the problem in them waiting until the age of consent then? I have no problem with it. You know that, Joe. You know I don't give a shit.
I'm with you, Jim. Again,
if age of consent, that's all I'm asking. Otherwise, you might as well let them smoke. You might as well let freaking toddlers walk around with a nipple on a beer bottle, for Christ's sakes. Because you know what? What's the difference?
I think this is affecting them mentally, whereas a cigarette is more of a bonus. kind of a
Okay, fine.
leisure
But
life.
how
This
about
is-
letting freaking 12-year-olds walk around with fake boobs? Because you know what? They say it gives them more confidence mentally. That's been one of the bigger insurance excuses that's out there.
Again, look, this is you know what you're doing? You're doing the slippery slope argument.
No, I'm
And it's
not.
like if we
I'm
let
not
this,
doing that.
if we
I'm
let
not.
this one in, we're going to have to let all the other
No, I'm
ones
not.
in. And the answer, in
What is
fact, is
worse,
no.
Joe? What do you think?
The answer, in fact,
gonna
is
propose.
no.
I brought those up just to propose
We
this
can
question.
draw the line and say
Just to
that's
ask this
a
question.
separate
Do
thing.
you think it's worse to get a tattoo or freaking chemically castrate yourself?
Again, those are not the
Just
same
answer my
thing.
question, man.
But those are not the same
What's
thing.
I know it's not the same thing. That's my point. Which one is which one is worse? Which one has a higher degree of
I don't think
permanent
there's
and side
I don't think
effects?
there's
Which
anything
one?
worse. Again,
Which
you
one
act
is
like
more dangerous of a procedure?
you act like they're inflicting pain on these people.
No, I'm
and
not.
they're
I'm not
not.
acting like that. I'm asking
Yeah.
which one is a more dramatic procedure? How about that? A tattoo?
One
or
is strictly
castrating
cosmetic.
yourself?
One is cosmetic. The other is not.
No. You're gonna have to explain that one to me.
Cosmetic. You know what cosmetic surgery is? Like getting a nose job,
Of course, I know a
getting a
cosmetic
boob
surgery.
job. Any of those things that's elective cosmetic surgery.
Yeah,
This is
I
a
understand.
completely different kind of surgery. And so, again, it's not like it's some elective surgery. And again, if somebody wants to begin the transition of womanhood, then
If my wife goes in there right now and gets breast implants, right, and I go in there and say I'm a woman, what do you think they call that? They're gonna give me breast implants. That's cosmetic surgery, Joe. I understand your reasoning behind your thought behind it, but it's still cosmetic surgery, no matter what way you.
no, I was referring more to the that
You know what? I'll tell you what. We're not as secure as we thought we were when we can't say it. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
No, I understand what you're saying, man. I do. I get it. Right.
Okay,
But in
good.
my opinion, and this is just my opinion, I would rather allow my son to get a tattoo than for him to chemically castrate himself and 15 years down the road say, holy crap, what have I done? Because you know what? You can't say that hasn't happened because you can laser remove a tattoo nowadays.
I don't know. Listen, this is the same tired right-wing argument about abortion and women that regret the abortions that they have. And no, that's just generally not a major problem that women are suffering from. I think it's a deflection that people see in what they think of as a sin. And I get that. Again, I empathize with
Joe, I've shown you the
religious
numbers
people
of the
who
suicidality rates do not decline as much as people would think they do.
Well, once they make the transition, they have to deal with this crap.
Put up with what crap?
People arguing about whether they should do it or not. People worried about whether they should participate in sports or not. This is like the newest group of people that are fighting for rights. And so they're generally picked on and bullied. And that's a big part of the reason why the suicide rate's so high.
100,000%, without a shadow of a doubt, if you could bet your house on it, you would, that I am a supporter of everybody's rights. Right? You know this about me.
Unless the state says otherwise.
Well, yeah, I'm also a law-abiding citizen.
Yeah, no, which is great.
Okay. Well, apparently it's not, only because I have an R behind my name. It's not okay. It's the devil. It's racist or something that I follow the law. But anyways, neither here nor there. And you're right. I am against transgender males playing in women's sports. I am against transgender females playing in male sports. Right?
Yeah.
I am. I'm against it completely because a disliking of your gender doesn't change your physical structure.
I think you're taking the
Right?
definition a little too literal.
That's the definition, man. I didn't change it. I'm going off of what the new definition is. I can say
hold
it.
on. You're taking the word dysphoria and you're assuming when you throw the word sexual in there that it means the exact same thing. That's not what sexual dysphoria is. It's not just I dislike my sex. It's
Then
a lot
what's the
more than
definition?
that.
Then
It's
tell
inside
me
they
what the
identify
definition
as
is.
the opposite sex and
Okay,
feel like
so-
that's what their sex should
So
be.
Webster
So,
got it
I
wrong,
mean,
and
listen,
Joe's
you're
got it right.
being
I
you're
got it,
using
man. I
semantics
got it.
to make the argument here, and I appreciate that. I do. That was
Tell
a
me what
solid
the
effort on your
Tell me
part.
what the Joe Aguirre definition of dysphoria is, please, so I can learn. Go ahead.
It's the unease part is what you need to focus on. There's an unease with their sexuality. They know, and like again, they're not gay. They know that they're a man, but they're supposed to be a woman, and I have no idea what that feels like because I'm
How
a
about
man
this then?
who's
Can I-
always felt like a
Does this
man, and I
qualify? Does this qualify? And I'm being 100% sincere. Does this qualify? I grew up in upstate New York. 5,001 people in my hometown, right? 5,000 white people and then me. I'm not exaggerating. I was the only non-white person in my town for years. And I hated what I was. I hated being Asian and I was angry for it. And I wanted to be white, just like everybody else. And I felt uneasy every day waking up being Asian. But you know what? No matter what the frig I did, I couldn't identify as white, man. I just couldn't do it. You want to know why?
because you're not
Because I look
Rachel
like this.
Dolezal. That's fine. Listen.
That doesn't qualify. I'm just wondering if
hold
that
on.
qualifies.
Just hold on. Just so because for some reason you act like I'm in Antifa.
No, I
Uh,
don't. You
and I'm
act
not.
like I'm this right-wing freaking ding racist.
Well,
I'm transphobe. I'm not in the slightest. You keep trying to paint me into this brush, and I'm like, no, that's not what I'm saying at all.
Gender
Christine, by the
dysphoria.
way, Christine, by the way, is a friend of mine.
no, I know. You listen, you're a friend to all. You're like Maui from the Disney movie. Friend to all, men and women. Both.
Is that
And that's
because I
great.
look like this? That's racist, brother.
Oh my God. Yes, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to invoke or in any way.
You know, if I
racial-
said that, no, I'm Korean. So if I said that, would that be cultural appropriation?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so no.
My God, I'm so glad that your forefathers didn't make it all the way to the islands.
Not all the way.
Or, yeah, their laziness in settling on the Korean Peninsula just saved me from an embarrassing racist moment.
I'm just saying, man.
You're
no,
great.
Joe, bottom line.
Hold
is-
on. I want to. So here's the definition of gender dysphoria. It's a term that describes a sense of unease that a person may have because of a mismatch between their biological sex and their gender identity. Jim, here's the other part. This sense of unease or dissatisfaction may be so intense it leads to depression and anxiety and has a harmful impact on daily life. And so that's what I'm telling you. And I think
Why
Again,
would that
Jim,
not be
here's the thing.
classified as a mental condition then? Because other things,
it
because
sounds like it, yeah.
okay, then if that's the case, if that is the case, if you agree to that,
Yeah.
why? I don't want to say the word delusion, right? But it's kind of hard not to if you classify it as a mental disorder. And I don't mean that as in your delusion as you see, you know what I'm saying? Like I am not gonna
But that's
I'm
what
not gonna
delusional-
acquiesce to
that's
your
what
mental
delusional both
condition,
means and implies.
right? And that's why I don't, but I don't want to acquiesce to your mental condition. But now you're forcing me to. And if I don't, I'm somebody that hates some other people, which is completely obviously not the case.
so in disrespecting the way someone presents, is this, I mean, it's the same thing as, again, someone sees you have slanted eyes, they know that you're Asian, right? And they start doing Asian stereotypes at you. That's right. That would be
Joe,
weird.
so here you go.
That'd be a weird thing to do.
I completely agree, 100%. Now, I know some pretty far right, hardcore QAnon guys, as I'm sure you do too. Right? We knew one of them together.
Yeah. Okay. Fair.
We had
Yes.
one mutual acquaintance.
Yes, we did. I forgot about him for a minute. Yikes.
Do you honestly believe he's out there going, nope, this guy's a man. He's dressed like a woman, but he's a man?
No, Jim, here's the funny thing.
Okay, no. Hold on, please. Let me finish.
No. May I want to answer the question.
Okay.
I want to answer this question honestly. I don't, and I've never witnessed myself, and I don't think I've ever seen and we see a lot of these racist rant videos on social media. I've never seen anybody do that to a transgender person in a video on Facebook or Instagram. I haven't seen it. So no, I hold on. I don't think that it's necessarily an issue. But again, you're talking about people who are dealing with a mental disorder, as you put it. And they're looking just for a little bit of affirmation. Again, I don't think people are going out of their way to not accept them. But then to me, it seems like it's in the media where you constantly see the argument being had, and then in the political spectrum. So I don't know that. I mean, maybe they are, and I'd be curious to learn more about it. But I don't really see there being a whole lot of that.
Okay, good. Me either. That was my point. But yet, if I say anything, we're painted in this brush that we're going out there trampling on these people's rights, and that's not the case at all. Right? Hold on, please. Hold on, please. I'm not trampling on anybody's rights. I'm not. I don't care. You can do whatever you want. And I've said this a million times. However, if you're a biological male and you're stealing female freaking scholarships and you're breaking female records in sports and taking away accolades from biological females because your bone density is different, your muscular skeletal structure is different, right? Everything about you physically is different. And you can't deny that, right? That's, 100% scientifically true. You can bring in any doctor you want, and they'll say that men and women are different physically. Well, you know what? I'm going to stand up for women's rights because they've worked really hard to break those glass ceilings. And now we're just going to women. Sorry, you go back to
transgender female athletes. So that your chivalrous argument it's not really flying. Outside of J.K. Rowling, you don't have a whole lot of ladies on your side on this women's rights nonsense.
And I don't understand. I really don't. Hold
on.
I bet you there are a lot more on my side than you think. They're just too afraid to say it.
Jim, I'll tell you this, and because I believe it coming from you, but because of your pro-choice position, because most of the people on your side, no one's buying it, because if you were for women's rights, you would be pro-choice. I can't make that argument because you're a good boy, you're a good guy, you already know what you're doing. But again, from the right, that argument is again generally worthless when the big one, abortion rights, you're against it. So you definitely, as a right winger who is a rhino, really, for all intents and purposes, because of your weakness on that one position, Jim. I appreciate that, though.
You know what? I appreciate your appreciation, but I think it's misplaced.
Yeah, could be.
Okay. And I'll be fully transparent and I'll be fully honest with you. Right. I would never get an abortion. I would never support one. I would never suggest one. I would never advise one. Right. I don't support abortions. I don't. However, again, it's your right. I'm never going to try to take a right away from somebody. Right.
Right.
Unless it's, health reasons. safety reasons, right? Like speed limits, smoking in restaurants, stuff like that, right?
Gender dysphoria surgery.
Not in the slightest. That's cosmetic. It's purely cosmetic, man.
No, again.
Hey, Joe, go get a. If you wanted to be a woman and you wanted to transition, what would you go get?
I would have things carved out down below. I feel like that's the most important part of it.
You're skipping these bad boys, man.
I will get there. We would get there.
You would get a breast augmentation, right? That's what it's called.
Yeah, no,
cosmetic surgery.
I haven't thought this through, but yeah, I guess I would.
Yeah. And if any other female in the world wanted to go get bigger boobs, it's called breast augmentation. That's the surgery. There's only one surgery to do it, and it's cosmetic.
But
now the reasons behind it are, whatever.
But she's not following a mental diagnosis and a referral for gender reassignment surgery.
You know what? I'm glad you said that. Do you know how many females I know that got freaking boob jobs because they were depressed in their body image and actually got insurance to pay for it? Now, there's going to be a lot of women calling up their insurance company if they hear this, but it's true.
You think women want bigger boobs?
I think certain women want bigger boobs. There are a lot of rich plastic surgeons out there, brother. I'm just saying.
Oh.
Just saying.
Oh, I've seen it.
Now, plastic surgery is called, it's plastic surgery, man. You know what, man? You ate up all my freaking time on this topic by fighting me on it. I wanted to get into the Russia plane hitting the drone, man, real quick, because I'm only going to take about another 3 minutes.
All right.
What do you think, dude? I'm just saying, if that was a manned plane, that's an act of war.
Period. Oh, right on.
Period.
Because you would know it was intentional.
This was intentional.
Probably.
100.
Jet dumps fuel and collides with the U.S. drone over the Black Sea. You can see it right there. You can see the fuel trail being dumped by the Russian jet.
Completely intentionally, dumping fuel on it, messing with it. Yeah, I mean, completely intentional. Now I will say this, whether he meant to take it down and hit it the way he did, I don't know, because he ran the risk of crashing his plane too, and that's an expensive, prank. Yeah, so I don't know if it was intentionally hit it and try to bring it down, but they're intentionally messing with it. They're intentionally, being reckless, dangerous, and it's been reported that it's not just us. They're doing it to other countries' planes that are flying in the international fly space.
Well, yeah, Russia thinks they're at war with the entire world right now, and with good reason. I mean, the entire world has been, including us, supplying Ukraine with weapons that has pushed this battle, over a year long. And I don't know if you saw about 2 weeks ago, but Ukraine hit some missiles within like 200 miles of Moscow.
I saw that. And you know what? Did you hear that today? I don't know if you heard this. Poland's giving them some jets now. They're just they're bringing them right in.
So look, if you're Russia, I mean, you already feel like you're at war. I mean, that's pretty much again, my brother follows this pretty tightly. The people in Russia are being told in the news that the whole world is against them and that they're fighting a war here. And so, they've done everything they can to keep NATO from getting hit so that we aren't forced to make this a bigger war, but it's gonna happen eventually. I got a feeling, so we'll see what happens. But Russia's not our friend, neither is China, and it's a weird time in the world.
You know what? We'll leave it on that. That's a great way to stop it. All right, we're going to take a real quick break, and then we come back. We're going to be entertained with the flip side with Joe Aguirre. Stick around.
Want to have your show on CT Politics? If you produce a show on CT political issues or commentary and want to play it to the world, contact us now at ctpolitics.tv. We'd love to have you part of the team.
Republicans like to tell you that if you want to succeed and make money to provide for your family, you just have to work hard. But it would take some Tucker Carlson-like editing to show you proof of a hardworking America getting paid fairly. And while CEOs are making record salaries and bonuses, they don't exactly conjure up the thought of hard work. It's also part of the reason I feel bad for conservative Republicans. They believe their values are something to fight for because con men have convinced them to hand over their money to keep them safe from George Soros. And I feel comfortable saying con men. Criminal MAGA terrorists like Steve Bannon claim China owns Biden, and yet he's the one who got arrested on a yacht owned by a corrupt Chinese billionaire that he's in business with, who was just indicted by our government. Don't listen to their nonsense. They like to blame the left for all sorts of things. I don't even know what a woke bank is. And I don't think being woke has led to a bank failing. You need capitalism for that. It's hard to tell who you can trust these days. Leadership's a major issue in the Republican Party. We've seen them struggle to decide who should be the leader. You know, a speaker that can speak from both sides of his mouth. They complain about socialism and welfare while threatening a civil war, yet it's the former Confederate states that depend on the government that Ronald Reagan warned them about. They straight up lie to your face and doubt your intelligence.
And I'll tell you what, any Republican that I know, if this happened to the Democrats, we would stand up and say that's wrong.
Right.
We don't want to have 300,000 bogus ballots poured into the system. We don't want to have election day sabotage. If it was Katie Hobbs voters who were disenfranchised, I would still be standing up saying this is wrong. We're America. We can't afford to continue to have corrupt, third world style elections, or we're not going to have this country much longer.
The last one.
Kari Lake is the only candidate other than Donald Trump who's still blathering about election fraud. We all know there isn't any, and yet there are lots of people on the right who continue to cast doubt. Here's Marsha Blackburn, once again, voted America's most corrupt senator, attempting to scare people into voting Republican.
Okay, I think if you like your washing machine, you should be able to keep your washing machine. And now we're hearing the Biden administration, they are wanting to make washing machines less efficient, use a different detergent that's new, gonna cost you more, and your clothes, they won't be as clean.
Your clothes won't be as clean. This is what they're trying to convince my mom of to keep her voting Republican. Tennessee's a terrible place to live, by the way, and Marsha Blackburn and most of the Southern senators have done nothing to help their states, which are at the bottom in education, health, and poverty. But Democrats are the problem.
Chief Ortiz, are you aware that there was an explosive device found by Border Patrol agents on January 17th in an area called No Man's Land, and there's surveillance of who put it there? And guess what? It wasn't Americans, it was cartels. Are you aware of that?
Thank you, Congresswoman, and good to see you again. I will tell you that some of this information that I receive in a confidential skiff, so I'm going to be a little hesitant of briefing what I know and what I don't know with respect to some of those, an event like that.
I understand, Chief Ortiz, but I'm not going to be confidential because I think people deserve to know. Our Border Patrol agents should not be in those type of conditions where they are at risk of being blown to pieces by the cartels, who, by the way, are criminals.
Marjorie Taylor Greene blurting out national security secrets on live television is the reason that 230 House members voted to remove her from committees in 2021. Kevin McCarthy became Speaker and gave assignments back to her, making America less safe. Now, don't buy this BS about Hunter Biden either. This is another one of those projections. Jared and Ivanka made a fortune in the White House. I hate to call it a cult, but it really does feel like one, and not a good cult, like The worst of the worst. So when they tell you the left hates America and wants to destroy it, don't believe them. When they say the left wants to kill children, don't believe that crap either. You see, things are not black and white. Lots of gray, lots of nuance. So do yourself a favor, question everything. I will leave you with a recent quote from President Trump that I actually agree with. Thank you.
Joe, you know what, man? I was really digging that. Number one, great job, by the way. I always enjoy your presentations. They are well thought out in your warped mind. Marjorie Taylor Greene was absolutely wrong and should be held to the full extent of the law by revealing national security secrets. I have said that about Democrats. I have said that about Republicans. I am saying it about every single freaking person on the planet because that's the goddamn law. I had a freaking clearance. You don't do shit like that for a reason. Now, it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying if that's true, which I can't believe it's not if it's national security secret. Right? It's terrifying. And I wish and pray and hope to God that none of those guys down there get hurt. I truly do. Right? And oh, God, I want to go back. And there was one part in here that I was like, I just wanted to smack my head and be like, are you kidding me? Because it was, God almighty, where the heck was it? Number one, I know a lot of people from Tennessee, and they love it down there. Just saying. Your social services are not that great, handedly.
Yeah.
I will let you know. Not a problem. I will definitely back you up on that. But God almighty, what the frig was it, Joe? I wish you could go back and do it again. Anyways. Oh, I remember. Where's that picture? Here's the picture. This picture right here, right?
That's hilarious.
It's complete horse crap, too. Do you remember down in South Carolina when all those people was it in South? No. I think it was even it was up north here where those people were riding around with trucks. They had American flags on the back of their trucks, and people called the cops saying that they were getting terrorized with flags of terrorists and stuff. Oh my God, I gotta find this. I will find this. But yes, your flag argument is bull crap. Number one, I can't stand how you constantly.
Listen, I'm sorry that people choose to fly the Trump flag with Nazi and Confederate flags. That's a real thing. I didn't make that up. Also,
no, I know. I'm talking about the Confederate flag and your Nazi flag thing. It just, that chaps me. That burns me up.
Why do people feel
you think you get to speak for every single Southerner who flies that flag, who believes that it just means Southern pride and not Nazism?
But it also represents slavery.
If the Nazis have adopted that, I'm going to tell you right now, Southerners don't care. They don't care. They're going to believe.
Oh, I know they don't care. They don't care. They don't care about anybody or anything. It's their way or the highway. But again, you got your ass kicked in the Civil War. It's over. The Confederacy is dead.
It's not about that. It is complete individual. Nope, that's what it means to me, man. And then leave me alone. That's it. But you want a freaking blanket statement, everybody, because you know what they're thinking and you know what they believe.
The swastika is illegal to fly in Germany because of the destruction.
This ain't Germany, brother. This ain't Germany.
Right, it's America. And that flag, the losing side, it should be banned. Again, in lieu of flying the swastika flag in Germany, neo-Nazis fly the Confederate flag because everybody knows what it means. Whether Southerners or you care about it or not,
mean that to
people
them,
know exactly what it means.
It does. No, it doesn't. It never meant that. It doesn't mean that to them. It doesn't, Joe. And why do you? Okay, you know what? One of my guests will be born and raised from the South.
I can't wait to destroy this racist person that's going to be appearing.
You got it, man. Okay. Now, does Oklahoma mean is Oklahoma south to you, or is that Midwest?
I'll take Oklahoma. That's
Okay.
that's the deep south of the far west.
Okay, I like
You know
it.
what I notice? The only thing I ever see, whenever I see Oklahoma, it's generally a documentary either about poverty or serial killers.
Wait, say that. Wait, say that again.
Anytime I see anything and it happened in the state of Oklahoma, it's either a documentary about poverty or it's about serial killers.
I'm trying to think of any that I can't.
Or Oklahoma Sooners football.
That's it. Well, I mean, there's
That's
nothing more important in Oklahoma than that.
Yeah, that is definitely true.
Oh my God, dude.
I'm struck at how many great murders have happened in the great state of Oklahoma. You know what they need? More good guys with guns, clearly.
Clearly. Oh, by the way, there was another thing that you mentioned. Yes, the we've talked about this, the murder rates and the crime rates in the red states and the blue states and all that stuff. And your contention is that it's higher in the red states, right?
It is.
It's higher in the red states, but compared
Correct.
to if you compare it to the population density, Chicago is still Detroit.
No.
New York, yeah, dude.
No. No.
Truly, the worst cities in America for crime are blue cities, every one of them.
They're cities.
Yeah.
It's just cities in general. Cities are dangerous, Republican or Democrat.
9 out of the 10 top worst cities for violent crime have been the 9 out of 10 top worst cities for violent crime.
Let me tell you something.
Freaking million years.
Tennessee,
the same cities ran by Democrats.
Tennessee is a cesspool of crime. The state of Tennessee, Republican Tennessee, they literally that's where one of the first 48 outposts is. You ever watch that show, The First 48? They literally have a TV show in Memphis, Tennessee, because of how many murders there are in Memphis, Tennessee. Republican state. You could argue that Memphis is a liberal city, and it's probably run by Democrats because it's a liberal city. But where do you think they're getting the guns from? The lax gun laws in Tennessee. You're just making it easy for the bad guys to get
lax gun laws in Tennessee. So explain the gun law. Explain the freaking violent crime here in Connecticut with one of the more stricter gun laws in the country.
We have the lowest violent crime rate in the country.
We have the lowest violent crime rate?
Yeah.
I'm going to look that up because I absolutely do not believe you.
This is also the safest place in the union as far as police officers go. And that includes, obviously, the October 2022 shootings of those cops in New Britain. Connecticut still is the most.
New Jersey is a city, which, you know what? I don't believe this crap now. As far as I can throw it, New Jersey is the safest state according to this. You know that's garbage.
Well, it's a big state. Again, the crime is focused in Newark and Camden.
Maine, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Vermont, Rhode Island, Idaho, and then it cuts off from there. Sorry. But I don't believe it, man. New Jersey. I've been to You ever been to Newark?
Again, you're talking. Listen, you would be hard pressed.
No. I'm talking violent gun crime, right? Violent.
You'd be hard pressed to find a city anywhere in America, that doesn't have. That's where all the crime is. It's in the city.
But you know what, Joe? It's astronomically larger in the big blue cities. It is. And you can't deny it. You just, the stats are there, man. Like the numbers are there. Now, I don't want to argue with you about this. What I want to do, right, is I want to talk about the friggin' solution because I know the solution, right? And you might disagree with the solution, but the solution.
I guess this would be my argument. You could say that again. Let's use Tennessee as an example because again, they shoot the first. What are the whole? They always do 2 crimes on that television show. You ever watch First 48? They're always in Memphis. They're literally always in Memphis.
Because crime doesn't happen anywhere else, Joe.
No, there's so much crime in Memphis that there's always new murders to solve in Memphis. It's crazy. But who runs the state of Memphis? You could say maybe there's a Democratic mayor in Memphis. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Who's the state? Who's in charge of the state? Republicans. And so again, you've got a very high crime city. It's a Republican-led state. That's where your laws are made. So you can't even argue like, oh, well, in the city's just letting people. That's not how it works.
Dude, so the most dangerous state, right? In U.S. I thought it was Missouri, actually. Again, I don't know if I believe the Google because it says Alaska. Can you see that? It says Alaska.
Oh, well, I think that's because everyone in Alaska is drunk all the time.
And getting eaten by freaking bears and crap like that, man.
Well, that'll do it to you.
You know what I'm saying? I hear you. South Dakota, nope, I'm sorry. That's number 14. Yeah, I'm just going to read it off the FBI's website.
I think it's hard to blanket statement about crime. Crime is crime, and
You're
I
right.
think
And I don't want to get into that argument.
Anywhere people struggle, you're going to have crime.
You're right. I didn't want to get into that argument, right? I really didn't. I wanted to talk about something very simple. What is the answer to it? And the answer is simple, man. There's been study after study after study. The death penalty does not deter crime, right? And that's from a right-winger saying that. So, no, that's not the answer. The death penalty is not the answer. Do I believe that we should have a death penalty? You friggin' ain't right, I do.
I haven't.
We should have an express line. I'm sorry?
I haven't committed murder because of the death penalty. It's deterred me to that point.
Really?
I'm just kidding. No, Jim. No, I haven't murdered because I'm a good person, despite being an atheist.
You know, I haven't murdered because of this imaginary person said that I shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
No,
the Sky Wizard told me not to.
That's right. So, no, the death penalty doesn't deter crime, right?
Yeah.
The study showed death penalty does not deter crime. Harsher punishments, right? Corporal punishments. That might a little bit. However, what really deters crime, according to an Oxford study that was conducted over a 60-year span, so they did their research, guys. The only thing that deterred crime was the threat of getting caught. And here's their logic behind it. Criminals are not thinking about the punishment. They're thinking about how to get away with it. They don't care what the punishment is. They thinking they're going to get away with it, and they're trying to make sure that they do.
So is the solution to have cameras everywhere?
The solution is to have more cops.
Oh, that's a good one too.
That's it.
Yeah.
That was the only thing over a 60-year study that deterred crime. The increase of police presence by 10% in one selected area in London, I believe they chose, deterred crime 10%, decreased crime 10%. And they did that over certain sections over time, and the results stayed the same. The only thing that deters crime is more cops. That's it. That's the solution. And you know what? That's not the Democratic Party right now. Whether right, wrong, or indifferent, whether they're right in saying that we shouldn't bring cops to domestic violence cases or other kind of cases, that we should bring different mentally.
No one's saying you shouldn't bring cops. They're just saying you should also have a mental health worker there who knows how to deal
No.
with
They're
that.
saying, they're saying that they don't want cops because the presence of a police officer will escalate the situation. And I understand the logic. It's kind of logical if you think about it.
But
people get on edge when you see a cop and a gun.
But also, just sending a therapist to someone's house who's ready to snap, that's not a good idea either.
That's not my thing, dude. I'm not supporting that.
My understanding is the police would be there, but they wouldn't be all up in it. They wouldn't be but yeah,
no, they're trying to remove police presence, right? They're trying to remove police presence to increase.
Right, but you're not sending a therapist into a hostage situation. No one's. That's not.
They want to send. Well, you know what? Then tell me what a domestic violence is. It's
right.
damn near a hostage situation, and they want to send it
rather than the policeman, Jim. Rather than the policeman pull you aside and say, "Listen, Jimmy, your wife said blah blah blah. You know, I'm gonna have to put you in jail tonight," and you're like, "She's a liar. That you're not with." Instead of you having to talk to the cops, you get to sit there with the therapist person who isn't trying to trick you into admitting your guilt. And so I think that's the idea of taking not that the police wouldn't respond. That's insane. We're not just going to send a therapist to someone's house.
Whoa,
that's
hold on.
Crazy
you know
talk.
what? I'm going to stop you right there because you're saying something a little offensive, right? That the cops are trying to trick you into doing something so they can arrest you. Now, did you know, hold on, let me finish. Did you know, according to Connecticut state law, if a police officer is called out to a domestic violence call,
someone's got to get arrested.
Somebody's got to go to jail.
Absolutely.
Doesn't matter. They're not trying to trick anybody. They're trying to find the right person to take to jail. That's it. Because they're going to, whether you like it or not,
Jimbo,
whether they like it or not, they're going.
Jimmy, my friend.
You know what I'm saying, man?
Jimmy, my man.
They're gonna be like, they're trying to trick you to send
the
you to
police.
jail. That's not cool. Not cool.
The police can lie to you. The police can tell you they have your DNA when they don't.
Why are you so anti-cop, dude? What happened?
Oh, I'm not anti-cop, but sometimes the cops don't play by the rules and they don't play fair.
What cop stole your lollipop or pissed in your Wheaties, man? Because you know what? You blanket statement 800,000 cops.
Police lie to people all the time. They do it on TV shows too to show you how smart the cops are.
Cool, dude.
Did you watch Making a Murderer?
So wrong.
That kid just wanted to go home and watch WrestleMania.
Was that Making a Murderer?
Yeah.
Dude,
hey, just raped and murdered that woman. Yeah, I just want to go home and watch WrestleMania. I did whatever you said I did. Jail.
You understand that was made for TV.
Jim, they didn't make that scene up. That actually is what happened. It happens every day in America. Do you not watch true crime documentaries?
I watch a lot of shit.
Well, then you should know this.
I love. It is the worst kind of. God, what can I say? How do I say this? How do I really want to say this and I can't articulate it.
Jimmy, I love the police.
You just bashed them. You just said that they all lie and they all try to trick people into
No.
That's what you literally just said.
Let me tell you what I said. I said the police can and do lie every single day as part of their job. And I think people don't know that. And they should know that. Also, you should, like when the cop's like, hey, listen, buddy, make this easy on everybody. Just tell me what you did. And they start feeding you the facts of the case because it happens all the time, Jimmy. It really does.
Doesn't that make it easier on everybody?
That's what, but you know, everything you say will be used against you.
Your genius is stunning, right? It's
never talk to the cop. Get a lawyer.
Well, obviously.
Yeah.
Obviously. And it's not because of the cops are liars and bad people. It's because the cops have a job to do and they have a job. That's their job. Their job is to record your freaking mood, your responses.
Lying.
You're this, you're that. They have to record everything because it all gets taken into account.
Well, usually
Right?
they start the tape after they've already talked to you for a couple hours so that they make sure you get the facts of your BS confession down.
You're so full of shit. No wonder why your beard is brown.
Jimmy, there's some true crime documentaries you gotta watch, dude.
I'm not saying, Joe, I'm not saying that.
Because
I'm
they're
not
allowed
saying
to
that.
lie.
I am
Police
not
shouldn't be allowed
saying
to
that
lie
they
to
don't.
people. It's
I'm
wrong.
not saying that they don't. What I am saying
It's
is
wrong.
you can't blanket 800,000 freaking police officers like that.
I'm not. How do you figure I'm blanketing? I mean,
all cops can.
It is a
and
fact.
do lie.
It's a fact that the police can lie to you in an interrogation.
Okay, so it doesn't mean they all do. What I'm saying is they're not all dishonest cops, and you paint them. And I don't want you painting cops.
I'm not saying
as
they're
some of these
dishonest
freaking
cops. I'm
evil,
saying they
evil
have a
people in the
tool that
freaking
they
community.
use, and it's
Because
called
they're
lying.
not. They're not evil people. They're there to do a job.
I never
And you
said
need
they
to
were
stop-
evil.
And you need to stop painting them as such.
But Jimmy,
you calling them out there as
Jimmy, I
liars
didn't
and
say they were
thieves and
evil.
that's not good, Joe. And it's
I
not
love the
helping
police.
anybody. Apparently you don't.
I do.
Then why would you Joe, your words and your actions don't meet up here, man.
Yeah.
I can honestly sit there and say, yeah,
shocked.
there are some freaking bad cops out there. There are some racist cops out there. There are some lying asshole cops that'll go out there and trick you in interrogations, blah, 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 blah. Right? And I love speaking a real podcast. Well, anyways, but I'm not going to sit there and say that every single one of them are, because that's a huge blanket statement and it does nothing. It does nothing but what we try to do opposite on here in this podcast, Joe.
All I'm saying is that the police can and often utilize lying to suspects to get them to admit things. It's legal for them to do it. I just don't like it. And that's all I was saying. It's a tactic that they can use
to solve crimes, to solve murders.
Correct. Jimmy, it's just like the traffic cameras. I like the idea of the traffic cameras, but I also agree with the ACLU that I have a right to privacy. Please don't record my stuff.
Good topic. That's a great topic because I believe the city of Waterbury, right here in the great state of Connecticut, will be the first city to try traffic cameras out here pretty soon.
I love it, but I also hate it.
So, do we have time? Can we take a couple minutes about this real quick?
I'll do it.
I lived in Long Island for a while back, and they had red light cameras, and it was huge. It was like the Constitution was being skirted because you don't have the right to face your accuser because your accuser is a camera. All this crap, blah blah blah. Now, I don't agree with it because I got tagged with it once. I made it right on red. Right? Did I come to a complete stop? I thought I did. The camera didn't. All right. So the camera was right in this regard. This is why I like them. When they put the red light cameras in, traffic accidents decreased tremendously. That's why I like them. Also, revenue for the city went up.
I asked Representative D.O.G. Van Carlin about the bill that they proposed. And the one thing he couldn't answer is the real question that I had. And that was, where is this information going and how long will it be stored for? And he was quick to admit that that's the most controversial part of the bill. That's where the ACLU was pushing back. And so I think we need to find something that we're all happy with. I don't have a problem. I think that, listen, Jim, again, I want the police to be able to utilize whatever they need to solve crime. If cameras decrease crime, again, the idea that you're going to be caught, if that's truly a deterrent, then I think there's something to this. Again, at the same time, we do have a right to privacy. And so if you're recording anything beyond my license plate with the specific intent of sending me a ticket for a violation, we got problems,
So here's my question, because I've been hit with this question and I couldn't answer it. Is your right to privacy outweigh my right to life?
Yes.
If you run red lights habitually and you hit me and kill me because you run red lights,
Yeah.
because you don't want your privacy, that's cool. That's okay.
Yes.
I don't understand that. You're going to have to explain that to me. My right to live should be more important than your right.
I don't think that's any different than your Second Amendment right or a kid's right to live and go to school without the fear of getting shot by an AR-15. I mean, that's essentially what you're
right.
asking.
No kid should ever go there and be afraid to be shot by an AR-15, but that has nothing to do with my Second Amendment right.
Again, does your right to a gun outweigh a kid's right to live?
My right to a gun has no bearing whatsoever on the kid's right to live. None.
Well, then how does my right to privacy and
Because
your right
I brought up a very specific. This is why I brought up a very specific.
you're cherry picking. You're cherry picking.
I know.
And
No,
in this
I am.
case, you want
I
that
am,
to
but this is
apply,
why
but
I
not in
like
the
this
other. I
conversation.
get it.
I'm not arguing. I'm not
Sounds
arguing.
like
here.
it. This feels like arguing.
No, I'm not. I'm literally trying to figure this out, right? Because I don't know the answer. I honestly don't. Right? This is why I said this in the beginning. You're an habitual, and I only bring this example up because we live in the state of Connecticut, and there are habitual red light runners here in the state of Connecticut. Like if the light turns red here in the state of Connecticut, and 3 cars go through, right? You just take your life in your own hands at that point. And that happens every single day, every single light.
Right.
Now, you put a red light camera up there, it's going to stop that a lot, maybe by 50%.
Great. Just don't store the data.
I don't care. No, you're 100% right. I'm not even talking about that.
Jimmy, I'm 100% okay with the cameras as long as we're not using it to record people, and as long as we're not using it and say checking immigration status on Hispanic drivers. We don't want to get into that kind of nonsense. If we're just catching people that are violating the great, do it. That makes everyone safer. As you said, it would generate money for said city. I don't have a problem with that. Again, we do have a right to privacy. So again, and this is it was my main question, and it's still my main concern. Where is the data going, and how long will you be keeping it? Because if it's just a quick picture
they have no answer for
you're
that.
good and it gets deleted or there's no storage or whatever the case, that's fine. But if this is something where there's a database and you're tracking my movements now, we're not doing that.
No, I wouldn't think that would be. I mean, shit, we already got TikTok. Why do we need that?
Sure. Again, I appreciate your joke. I'm being serious. Listen,
I know. I am 100% agreeing with you. They're
lying,
doing that crap. No, you're 100% right. They can't be doing that crap.
Just like with lying, I support the police having the tools they need to solve crimes. Again, as long as you're not violating our rights to privacy, do what you got to do.
Yeah, no storing of data. That should be picture taken. You got to make sure you check your registration, send out your friggin' ticket, and that should be the end of it.
Solid point, by the way, here by our good friends at the Speaking It Real podcast. The ones that get the tickets on red light camera, it's the owner of the car, so don't be loaning your car out to people. Because
that's 100%. Yeah. Oh, and I believe who was the legislator? I was talking to the legislator about this down in Waterbury, and it's not going to take a picture of the driver, the ones here in Connecticut. They don't take a picture. They just take a picture of the front and the back license plates.
Okay.
Right? Now, the ones in Long Island did, because they would send you that whole thing, and it'd show, look, here's your picture of you. And you're like, oh, dang. Yeah, they got me. But I do love Speaking It Real. I truly do. I love that podcast. But yeah, there's not going to be. I believe they said that they're not going to be pictures taken of the driver here on.
Then if that's the case, I'm 100% in. Listen, again, Jim, I joked earlier. You said what deters crime, and I said, again, the idea the overlords have cameras everywhere. It's hard to do anything without being recorded. Again, I think these cameras, and I think I actually asked him that same question, DOG Van Carlin. Is this really meant more as like a deterrent? And he said, yes. Ideally, we don't want anyone to get a ticket. We just don't want you to run the light.
Well, I don't care if the people get tickets. That's money for the city and stuff like that. I'm not running, I'm not going to get a ticket. So I don't need to worry about that. I don't run red lights, man. I don't.
Well, I do. I'm a habitual red light runner.
I am so freaking adamant about that. I'm so anal because I just am. I hate it. But so I don't want to ever try to. I try not to be a hypocrite. So there we go. Red light cameras. We're both for them. I think it deters accidents tremendously, more so than more than anything. Actually, no. We need to have cops out there enforcing the laws.
Well, again, police. Listen, when you're talking about deterrence, I think having more police, I think having cops walking the beat like they used to goes a long way. I think cameras go a long way. I think traffic cameras. Anything that, because as you pointed out, listen, anything that makes them feel like they're going to get caught is the deterrent.
That's right.
And to me, cameras and heavier police presence certainly should do it.
So my liberal friend Joe says more cops. And on that note, we're going to end the show. So thank you very much, everybody, for watching Divided We Stand. It was a truly, truly invigorating conversation tonight. I really wanted to talk more about the Russia plane, but we can talk about that some other time. So
I'm sure there'll be another plane.
Of course there's going to be another plane. So again, guys, thanks a lot. For Joe Aguirre, I'm Jimmy J saying thank you and good night.